Hi, welcome to the CWR podcast. I am CWR team member Daniel Becker up here in Anchorage, Alaska, staring into the Arctic abyss. And joining me, as always, from Quincy, Washington, Matt Slater.
Hello.
How's it going, Matt?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Just still running down that atmospheric river.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of news footage coming out of Washington State with the flooding. Really bad. I'm glad it hasn't affected your area too much.
Yeah.
Obviously, up here in Anchorage, we're freezing to death. Temperatures in the single digits. I tried to get out in the field last week, but the temperatures were just so extreme that I just
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Too cold.
So today, joining us from the great state of Missouri, Jimmy Williams from Jimmy's Cryptid Quest. We've been looking forward to having him on. I don't think we've talked to anybody from Missouri yet
I don't think so.
that I remember. So I'll tell you that southern part of the United States, that Missouri, Arkansas, Texas, Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, what great areas for cryptid research. So many reports coming out of there. So yeah, let's bring him in. Jimmy from Jimmy's Cryptid Quest. How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Good.
It's
Thanks for
it's a nice 50 something degrees here.
oh
Nice.
gosh, I'm jealous. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it. So let's get started by tell us how you got into all this. How did you become involved in Bigfoot research?
Well, I've always had a fascination with dinosaurs and things like that, so it kind of started from there. Um, I grew up homeschooled, and the son of a pastor, and so a lot of things that seem kind of supernatural are not too unfamiliar with me. But whenever it comes to Bigfoot and stuff like that, I always thought, there's probably some sort of big ape out there that they just haven't discovered yet. And so me and my dad have always kind of joked about it and everything. And one day he wanted, it was like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he was like, let's go find a place that has Bigfoot sightings and camp out and see if we see anything. And so we found a place in the Kiamichi Mountain Range over there in southeast Oklahoma, and it was interesting. the and the night that we camped out there wasn't that interesting. Nothing happened. It was dead as a doornail the whole day. But we went to the Bigfoot museum that was nearby, and that lady gave us some locations and stuff to investigate, and that's whenever we started having some interesting encounters and stuff. And yeah, there's two places that I go out there, um where I investigate, and they are just the craziest places I've ever encountered. One of them has only one road in or out, and there's nobody around usually for a 3 mile radius at least. uh, and that's where I've had an actual encounter with one, seeing it and everything.
Oh, tell us
um,
about that.
yeah, well, with that one, as you have that wahoo sound on there. Yeah, me and my dad were just sitting there talking and talking about the universe and God's creation and everything and all this stuff. And then it's kind of weird. It's like I don't know if I was hearing something or what, but something made me go, "Hey, hold on just a second," because I felt like something was gonna happen, like there was gonna be a sound or something. It's a weird feeling, but I think maybe subconsciously I was hearing something off in the woods. And then we hear this whoa sound, and it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. And I was like, "Woo, boy, that's a new kind of sound right there." That's because we've heard other sounds out there that could be some sort of wolf or a coyote or something. And of course, we've heard barred owls. I hate barred owls because sometimes they make some weird sounds that you think are something they're not. But yeah, we heard that, and we just kind of sat there in silence for a while, just waiting to see if there was anything else that was going to make any kind of sound. And that night there was nobody else in the area at all. I'd made sure previously, driving up and down the road before I always do that before we set up equipment, just so I have an idea, if there could be some sort of contamination of audio and all that, But yeah, it was such a strange thing, and we just sat there for a while. And where the wahoo sound came from was from an area where a guy had previously had some pretty intense encounters with a Bigfoot. And that area is not a it's not a very easily traversed area. There's no roads other than the one that goes by our camp that comes in and out of that area. So we sat there and waited, didn't hear anything else. But then, about an hour after that happened, we hear something moving, walking around in the woods on the other side of where we were. And so we went towards that with our flashlights, looking around and everything. My dad didn't see it, but I only saw it for like 5 seconds. And he was about 6.5, 7 foot tall, dark brown, kind of oily or greasy hair, and he was moving away from us. And from my vantage point, all I could see was from about the middle of the back up, really broad shoulders. That's what I remember a lot about him, was how broad the shoulders were. And he didn't have like a kind of conical head or anything. It was more of a rounded kind of head, but he had almost no neck. I mean, it was just mostly muscle. And it could have been because maybe he was kind of ducking down some. But the only way I gauged how tall he was is because there was a tree out there that was kind of a split kind of tree that he was walking past whenever I saw him. And it was it was really strange. Like, he was probably, I want to say, 30 or 40 feet away from me whenever I saw him. And so I was kind of shocked, seeing this, because I expected to see anything else but that. So I pulled out my phone, and I'm trying to open up the camera app and all this kind of stuff, And by the time I got that up and everything, he was already gone. I don't know if he ducked down and just kind of, went on all fours, or if he just was out of range for me to see him, or what. I mean, with every step he was taking, I mean, he was moving quite a ways away. So I ranged that, maybe he had like a 4 foot stride or something. He was going pretty far. In that area, that's mostly leaf litter, so you can't really get a track from where that area is. But yeah, he was moving out there. And I'm not somebody who believes in portals or whatever. I'll have to see one before I believe it. Uh, but I mean, somehow he disappeared, and and I didn't see where he went to after I brought my phone back up, because yeah, it was really irritating that I didn't have my phone already on me and filming. Otherwise that would have been some awesome footage. But yeah, that's pretty much my encounter there. I didn't smell anything weird other than, like, the usual forest smell. I think the guy may have been kind of just watching me and my dad. Um, but after that, we decided to head back because we couldn't see anything. And so on our way back, which we were probably I want to say 200 to 300 feet away from camp. On our way back, we there was this whoop sound, and I didn't hear it whenever I was coming back, but it's recorded on that recording I have, the whoop. And I'm guessing that they were really close, like right up at the edge of where our camp was, and made that sound whenever they saw us coming and probably left because it's probably like a warning kind of thing, or a let's get out of here kind of deal, or something like that. But yeah, it's recorded on there, and I also probably didn't hear it because of all the crunching of the leaves too. So I'm guessing it was like a quieter kind of whoop kind of thing.
Matt, let's bring up that audio.
Yeah. Got the video right here.
I heard. Ooh, that's a different sound.
Yeah, that's the
That's pretty
what
good.
that's yeah. I mean, that was amazing. And whenever I heard the whoop later, whenever I was reviewing the video and everything, I was like, oh my gosh, I that surprised me. Um, that's probably some of the best audio evidence I have. I also have some audio recordings of whenever me and my dad were in a different location and we had rocks thrown, big rocks. You can't really get the full size and heft of the rocks on that recording because this is just recorded with my cell phone. I got a really kind of trashy cell phone, but through the night there were 4 rocks thrown at our camp, and that was the first time my dad has had that kind of experience. It's the second time for me because in that same area, which is different from the one I was just telling you about, in that same area I've had rocks thrown as well. But yeah, there was 4 rocks thrown, and one of them must have landed pretty close because it felt like I could feel the thud of it whenever it reverberated through an air mattress. But you can hear these rocks breaking limbs, twigs, and stuff as they're coming through the trees. And I don't know of anything that could be throwing a rock. There wasn't anybody for tens of miles, for tens of mile radius in that area because that's a very remote area. It's also really super close to the Arkansas border, real close to Mena. That area is, and yeah, those rocks whenever they were flying through, I think they were throwing them at the glow sticks I'd put out there because I kind of like to bring things that will attract something. So I had some glow sticks that I'd put out in some of the trees, and some rocks were thrown towards those areas from whenever I was laying there hearing it. I had a really hard time sleeping that night too. It'd be like just about every single time I would almost fall asleep, boom, another rock hits. It's like, gee whiz. I don't think they were trying to throw them, at me or my dad. I don't think it's anything malicious, but they were, I guess, just throwing them at that where I had those glow sticks at. There was also something walking around the camp that night, just pacing around in circles on the perimeter of the camp, and, it's such a weird deal. It's like they want to. Sometimes it feels like they want to uh, interact with you, and sometimes it feels like they just want you to scram. But yeah, I got the glow stick idea from whenever me and another guy, Dave Rogers, he's in southern Arkansas as well. He usually uses glow sticks as kind of a bait kind of thing. Me and him did an investigation up here in Eureka Springs, and just setting out some sound traps and stuff like that. And we actually we would put up a glow stick in this one area, and we actually had a really interesting kind of whoop kind of sound, or not whoop, but kind of like a yell almost. Uh, but ever since I got kind of burned by one of those barred owls, because they do make a yell that sounds really weird. It's like I don't know if I trust what it is or not. But other people have had sightings in that same area that me and Dave Rogers were in, but I don't have any footage of that. Um, but yeah, it was pretty interesting.
So you've got a lot of cryptid activity in this area. Have you guys ever experimented with gifting? And how do you feel about the gifting topic?
Well, it's kind of a weird deal because I mean, I I think it's a good idea for the most part to see if you can get interaction with them, but at the same time, it's kind of strange, it's almost like a worship kind of thing in a way, where it's like, here's my offering, give me a sign kind of deal. Um, so for me, I do have an area that I've gifted before, and every single time I do any kind of gifting kind of deal, I get bears. Bears destroying things, and I know it's bears because I've recorded them on camera before. I had, I had this one area where I I had a jar of peanut butter, and I highly suggest not using peanut butter if there's bears in the area. They love peanut butter. I had a jar of peanut butter out there, and I had these little marshmallows, and I smeared some on this tree stump and put the marshmallows on there, and then I had a an audio recorder and a trail cam set up looking at the area, and all I caught on there was bugs flying across sometimes and a fox, and then the next thing I record is there's these two big old black bears that had totally destroyed the stump, which I found out later there was a squirrel that had been hiding acorns in that stump. I felt kind of bad because his whole acorn stash was gone. But yeah, they had destroyed that thing. They were licking the inside of that peanut butter jar, just licked it clean. And they also one of them actually took off with my audio recorder. So I have a missing audio recorder that a bear ate, I guess.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah, I have all that on camera.
that sounds like an amazing area. So we've got some pictures that we want to bring up.
All right.
Matt, when you're ready.
Yeah.
So talk us through these.
Yeah, well, these are all pictures from whenever me and my dad investigated an area where a lady I know had seen some Bigfoot out on her property and had seen tracks out there. And she had told me about it, and for a while, and it's private property where this is. So there's not a whole lot of people going out there and everything. This lady's kind of an older lady, but she's in good shape. Um, Her husband he's kind of restricted to the house because of his condition. But yeah, she said I can come out there anytime I want. I may go camping out there sometime. Uh,
That's great. Sorry to interrupt. Anytime that you get to do research on private property, that's a win.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mean, the thing is this is not too far from a lake. I mean, there's a lake that's probably, I would say, 100 feet away from where these tracks are. But getting to the lake, it's just a sheer ledge down there to the lake. So it's not somebody walking up on the beach and coming up there and walking around in an area that has a bunch of briars and ticks and and rough rock and soil and stuff. So but yeah, we were out there, and I was totally not expecting to find tracks because I'd been out there before just by my well, no, I had my mom went out there with me, but I'd been out there before with my mom, and we didn't see anything. But we had a rain not too long ago, and so I decided, me and my dad and my mom should go out there, take a look, and yeah, we found this one area that was fairly muddy or had some kind of wet soil, and that's what we found, was that right there. And honestly, with with that track there in particular, we kind of walked around, and none of our shoes or anything were able to make an impression that deep in the soil. uh and I think that right there was done about not too long before we came out there, just because of the moisture in the soil. Um, but yeah, that's my dad's shoe there, and that footprint is obviously much wider than what a normal human's footprint is. And I know that that lady's not going to be going out there walking around barefoot. Um, she lives in a place where there's not a whole lot of people. There's like people that live across on the other side of the lake, and people that live way down another road in that area. But this this area was very, uh like I say, it's not a place where you would just, want to take off your shoes and walk around barefoot. you know
Yeah, definitely not. And that's snake country too, right?
yeah, yeah, very much. Very much so, yeah. And then there's another one right there. That one's about the same size as the other one. So I reckon that, that's probably from the same one. And then that one's more of a juvenile kind of print. And there were a lot of those in that area, the juvenile ones. Um, and I reckon that whatever made those, maybe the kids were playing in the mud, stomping around in the mud or something. Because it just doesn't make any sense for a normal person to be out there, so far away from where you would want to have your feet, just being bare and everything. It's just a really weird place for there to be footprints. But she has seen juveniles as well as adults out there in that area. She herself has seen them, as well as their footprints in the snow. Actually, she's seen prints out in the snow. Um, she's seen where there was a fish that had been partly eaten. She thinks that it could be a Bigfoot. I don't know. It could be a bobcat that did that. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. Her daughter-in-law actually saw some prints out there too, and she doesn't believe in Bigfoot or anything, but she couldn't figure out, what would be walking around barefoot out in the snow. Oh yeah, the tree breaks. Yeah, this is on that same property. Um, these were tree breaks that were near the footprints. 'Cause there's another footprint that's like a partial print, and there's a tree break near that too. I don't know if you have that photo. It's kind of grainy, kind of hard to tell what it is. But yeah, there's a partial print that had a tree break over there. There's this tree break is near a trail, I believe, that kind of goes down to the edge of the cliff. Um, there may be a way to get down there, but man, it's steep. It's something where you could easily fall off really easily. I mean, there's I wouldn't try to go down there. But is it a Bigfoot? I don't know. I mean, it could be a maybe a hog, but yeah, I don't know. I just found it was kind of interesting in that area. And then this right here, these pictures with this red text, those are all from the location where I'd heard a where I'd seen a Bigfoot. Um, there's basically this small tree that had been broken, and then it looked like it was tossed across the road because there was this one branch on the tree that was broken from it being basically tossed past another small tree, so kind of breaks the limb as it goes across there. And I can't think of why a person would be doing that, um, or how strong they would have to be to literally break a tree like that and then toss it, along across that area. But that goes down into that trail goes down into a creek, so it's a pretty interesting find. I mean, like I say, to me, I think it's possibly a Bigfoot doing that. But then again, I don't know. I don't know what else would do that. And the significance of it being across a trail is kind of odd. Um, I don't know why such a small tree would be across a trail because you can easily step over it. Some people think it's like a warning sign whenever there's like a don't cross here kind of deal. I I've never really been threatened by these things. The closest I've ever had to them attacking me is throwing rocks in my direction, but then again, they wasn't trying to hurt, actually hit me with any of them.
When we went out investigating on the Oklahoma-Arkansas border on some private property out there, the gentleman who owns the property had told us, and he actually showed us the tree that he said this Bigfoot had picked up and thrown.
Yeah, I've like I say, I mean, they they do that kind of stuff. I think it's just to scare people, really. I don't think they have any intention on actually hurting anyone. I don't know of any stories of them actually hurting or killing people, other than like the one from like the 1800s where General LaFleur, which is where the county that I investigate in, allegedly had his head torn off by one and all this stuff. I don't know if I believe it because it's like maybe 10 miles away from where I investigate where that story happens. Um, but yeah, I don't know about them being really violent. Um, in Spain, they actually have an old Bigfoot legend, and they were a people known as the Gentilac. It's where we get the word Gentile from. And the Gentilac, if you look it up, it's spelled Gentlac, I believe. The Gentilac, the description of them, the depictions of them, just like a Bigfoot. every bit just like a Bigfoot. But in that, it also talks about them being acting more Christian than Christians, which I thought was interesting because all the other things where people have had encounters with them, they seem to be pretty forgiving. Even people who have shot them, the worst that happens to them, usually they get ran out of the woods. Um, or like in Hanobi, Oklahoma, which is not too far from where I investigate. There was the siege of Hanobi that happened back in 2000, where there was best of my memory, there was a hunter had a cabin, and he had a little mini freezer out on his front porch, and he stored a lot of his kills and stuff, the deer that he killed in that freezer. Well, at night, um, Bigfoot would come and they would steal some of the meat out of that freezer. And so one time he caught him doing that. He shot it and killed it because it hit in the head, and he drugged the body inside. Well, they came out and they started pounding on his walls and everything. They could have easily broken in and destroyed the guy. I mean, they had probably every right to, you know, do so, at least in their sight, to do that. But instead, they just pounded on the doors or the walls and everything. And then later he drugged the body out there, and they picked it up and ran off. They never retaliated in any other violent way. Other people, there was a trucker that had seen one carrying the body as he crossed the road, crossed right in front of him, running off with the body. So that kind of corroborates that guy's story. It's a pretty well known story in that area. But like I say, I haven't ever heard of anything where they were, really overly aggressive and hurting people real bad. But I mean, that's who knows. I think they're a type of people. Um, and just like with people, there's good ones and there's bad ones. Um, but yeah, that's what I think about them.
See, in Alaska, the reputation that Bigfoot has is a lot more on the aggressive side.
Yeah,
And the theory is that they're more aggressive up here due to the lack of interaction with the human population. Obviously, Alaska is a massive area, but the population is small.
yeah,
And due to their lack of human interaction, they have this aggressiveness about them, where in other parts of the country, you don't hear that so much.
yeah, yeah. Down there in southeast Oklahoma, there's in that area, there's a lot of Choctaw, and the Choctaw are very, it's part of their culture, really. Bigfoot is, it's one of the things that there's a certain mountain that allegedly uh, the Bigfoot bury their dead at that they don't let people on. Uh, but yeah, and it's not too far from that area I investigate too. So there's they do have a lot more interaction with people in the southern the southern 48. Um, I think like I have a couple of theories on what Bigfoot is. The
Do
first
share.
one,
Do share.
yeah, the first one is that they are some sort of descendant of what people call Nephilim. Now, the word Nephilim is actually, I think, kind of misused because in Genesis 6, where we first hear about the Nephilim, it talks about them being in the earth in those days, and that there were the sons of God, found women, took them as wives, and all that. And I think the Nephilim are actually the sons of God. They're actually the angels, because Nephilim means fallen one. It is used to describe the giants of Canaan later on, but that gets into some stuff that's kind of difficult to really explain, because we see in Deuteronomy these angels that had after the flood happened, these angels had been cursed with mortality. Talks about them uh, accepting worship and stuff from people and all this stuff and being unjust. And God says, "You will die as men." So I think that they were mortal, and they were indeed gigantic. So I think that's why they're referred to as giants in some of the later books, where it talks about them being, we saw Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers compared to them, and all that. Um, but I think what the offspring of the Nephilim and humans are the Gibborim, and Gibborim means mighty ones, because it says that there were mighty men of great renown, and I think it's actually the Gibborim. So I think, with one of my theories is that Bigfoot is somehow a descendant of these Gibborim, a much later descendant, but there's you know there's a few things that don't make sense about that. Part of it is we don't know if giants were covered with hair. That could be something that is just a mutation, like a hypertrichosis, I believe is what it's called, where all of your peach fuzz turns to regular hair. Don't know if that's what's going on there. But they also have a normal set of digits on their feet and hands, which giants were supposed to have 6 digits on their feet and hands. Um, the other theory I have is that they're actually descendants from Canaan, but that people were a lot larger way back in the day, um, and that they're just descendants from pretty close to after the flood, and they just mutated differently than what we have, because we all have these variations in us, and that's because of mutations. And I think maybe they mutated in a different way. I don't know.
Now, what's interesting about the Nephilim connection theory is that Matt and I have people in our network, in our CWR network, all across the spectrum. People researchers and podcasters who believe that they're North American primate, some interdimensional beings, some extraterrestrial, and various other theories out there. But in the interviews that we've done on our podcast, no topic has gotten us more heat than the Nephilim connection theory, especially when we had Christian author and commentator L.A. Marzulli on, and filmmaker, when we talked about the Nephilim connection in relation to Bigfoot. We got heat for that, and it's interesting. It's just an interesting observation, is that, these same people that have no problem with the theories of extraterrestrial and interdimensional and North America, they have no problem with those other theories. But when you mention a biblical connection, a possible biblical connection, people come unglued. And
Yeah.
that's been a very interesting aspect of this hobby of ours to observe.
Yeah, and I know it's a weird deal. As far as interdimensional stuff goes, I don't know. I mean, I there's with all this stuff, I really have to see it to believe it, because otherwise it's just it's just somebody's word on something, or maybe an interesting photo or video that could be something, might not be something. Don't really know. I have friends like uh oh, last name's Adams. I can't remember his first name right now. Daryl Adams. He has that Al Moon Lab place out there in Oregon, and he has photos, or a photo of what looks like a portal that's opened up out of a tree. It's the weirdest thing, and he's not some sort of Photoshop kind of guy or anything. And I mean, I don't know. It could be something, it might not be. And as far as the alien thing goes, I don't know on that either. I've out there where I've investigated. Well, I'll just go ahead and tell you the story on this. Me and my friend Gabriel Graciano, we were testing out some of his equipment that he bought to go Bigfoot hunting. He had these infrared floodlights and these cameras and everything. And basically, we went out to my spot. We set all this up and everything, and we waited and waited and just sat out there for a while. And then it's like around 3 a.m. and there was nothing going on. So it was like, let's go ahead and head back. So we uh took everything apart, and then we get out onto the road, and we get to a highway, and there's this intersection out there. And I saw real just barely clear in the treetops, these amber kind of twinkling lights. And we were seeing it from the side, but you could tell it was probably like a circle or something. I thought, well, maybe that's like a law enforcement helicopter. Maybe it's the DEA thinking we were dealing drugs out there or something. um and then I thought, well, that's weird, because helicopters don't have like lights on the edges of the blades, twinkling and spinning around like that. And it was amber colored too. But then in the very center of this thing, there was this real bright light. It was almost like a spotlight at first. But then, like, the whole body of this thing, starting from that point, the whole body lit up into one solid light, one solid color. And it was that kind of diamond saucer shape, because we were seeing it from the side. Um, and then it just blinks out of existence. It's gone. And I was like, "Oh my gosh." We didn't capture that on camera, sadly. And I didn't think to film whenever I first saw it, because I was thinking it was a helicopter or something. But that same night, earlier that night, there was some other Bigfoot investigators that had seen the same thing in the same place. And I mean, that's just so bizarre, because I mean, I'd never seen a UFO that close. And yeah, it was odd, but I think there is some sort of connection to balls of light and UFOs and stuff and Bigfoot, whether it's a connection to an area or the beings themselves. I don't know. As far as aliens go, I don't think they're aliens, but I have a crazy theory that I don't believe concerning that. Just kind of something I thought would be fun to have as like a short story or something, short fiction story, is that the Bigfoots are actually these sort of like suits for alien consciousness, for them to like live in a primitive way, kind of like how we do camping or something. They live in these Bigfoot bodies, but I don't believe that. It's just a fun little goofy theory I had on that.
So I want to turn the wheel over to Matt there in Quincy, Washington. Matt, what you got?
Sounds like you got a pretty good research spot down there. And I mean, to have the encounter that you did with both the Bigfoot and the UFO, that's incredibly lucky.
Yeah.
That's incredibly lucky. And you got some good theories. And they right along with a lot of other stuff that we've heard.
Yeah.
And it's like we said here, like this platform that we have is open to everything. And it's like, so we hear all kinds of stuff from one side to the other, and nobody has any concrete proof of anything, so they're all valid. They're all theories. And they're all good.
Yeah. I've actually been up there to Washington before. This May, me and my parents went up there on vacation, and unfortunately, we went in May. And I did not know this, but a lot of the places like Mount Rainier and all that were still closed
Yeah.
because of snow.
Yep.
And so we didn't get to go over there to or Mount St. Helens too. But yeah, we didn't get to go over there to Ape Canyon or any of those places. We did go to a little camp called Iron Falls, I believe is what it is. Yeah, Iron Falls campground, and we camped out there. Beautiful place. I've never seen so much beauty in nature before, and yeah, we went to several different little areas. We went to Bumping Lake, and tried to go to this one place where I wanted to set out a recorder, but yeah, we didn't have any kind of encounters out there. The closest we had to an encounter was over there at Iron Falls. I left a jar of peanut butter out there on the picnic table,
Yeah.
and whenever I set up a camera, and I thought I had that peanut butter jar in frame, and I didn't, because
Oh no.
the next morning the jar was unscrewed and the lid was sitting by the peanut butter jar, and I had that thing just out of frame, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know what did it. I mean, maybe a crow or something could probably do that. I don't know. Maybe a raccoon even. But yeah, I mean, that was the closest to an encounter we
Yeah.
had up there.
Yeah, I think some of the encounters here in Washington, they're from what I've mostly heard, they mostly happen at night, and if they're in a populated area, and they're usually friendly, or non hostile, I should say.
Yeah.
Um, but they seem to be very cautious. The population density in Washington, where most of these sightings occur, the population density is pretty high.
Yeah.
So I think they're quite a bit more cautious here than they are in other places.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, for there to be a sighting, there needs to be three things. There needs to be a person, there needs to be a Bigfoot, and that person needs to be willing to report the sighting.
Yeah.
And I get the feeling that there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings that happen that people just don't report.
Yep.
Or they convince themselves that they didn't see what they saw. I'm always skeptical though of any kind of story or evidence, because I've been fooled by my own evidence before, like with barred owls.
Yep.
It's an interesting kind of thing. There's lots of times like where I work, people really know me pretty well as being like a Bigfoot guy,
Yeah.
and so people come in and they will tell me a story or they'll have a recording or something. And often, whenever it comes to the recordings, it's like either a fox or a barred owl. People are just not real familiar with the sounds those things make, I guess.
Right. It's a lot of people. They can be quite surprising, and like this, the odd noises that some of these animals. They're common animals, but a lot of people might not really know what sounds a fox makes,
Yeah,
and it's not what you expect it to be.
yeah, yeah,
That one actually
definitely.
got me in Arkansas, the
Yeah.
fox, because I thought it was a woman screaming in
Yeah,
the woods, and our partners down there, had to explain to me that was a fox, and I was like, "Oh, wow." To me, it sounded like a woman screaming.
Yeah.
yeah. And I kind of have a theory on why uh the Bigfoots may be more hostile up north than down in the south. And I agree with what you're saying there. It could be that, they just don't have as much interaction with people. But if you look at the Legends of the Paiute, where they talk about the red-headed violent giants, or violent giants that they had to kill off and everything. There's other legends from other tribes that talk about basically killing off giants or forcing them out of their area up into the north and the west. And I think maybe they're descendants of that. I don't know. Uh, I've heard also that there were good giants that were the Bigfoot that helped fight off the bad giants and everything. So it could be that they're descendants of that. No idea. Um, I'd love to one day investigate I think it's called the Hanani Valley, also known as the Valley of Headless Men, because that's supposed to be like a place where they have giants and Bigfoot and dinosaurs and all kinds of crazy stuff. That's way up north in the Arctic Circle. I have a hard time believing a lot of that, but who knows? It gets so few visitors, that because it's so remote and everything.
Yeah, there certainly are a lot of interesting stories. So, Jimmy Williams from Jimmy's Cryptid Quest, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, on TikTok, which is what I'm usually on, it's at Jimmy's Cryptid Quest. On YouTube, it's at Jimmy's Cryptid Quest. So that's where I'm at on those.
All right. Jimmy, thanks so much again for taking the time. And we really enjoyed having you and listening to your accounts. So, for myself, Daniel Becker up here in Anchorage, Alaska, for my fellow host, Matt Slater in Quincy, Washington, for Jimmy Williams from Jimmy's Cryptid Quest, thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for having me, guys.